33 years old, living, working in Bern, coaching the national team of Swiss Badminton, so the elite. I'm the assistant coach of the elite team, and I'm the head coach of the junior department. Born and raised in the Netherlands, in Rotterdam to be exact. Did a lot of sports when I was growing up, swimming, football, badminton, and at some point it became too busy. I had to make a choice on what to do, I think as a lot of kids have, and I chose for badminton. My father used to play it as a hobby, and that's how I got in the sports hall. Played in the national junior squad from age 11, 12. Started playing when I was 10. Went through all the national junior teams. Then I was part of the national elite team in the Netherlands, being a professional. I really liked training full time at the national center in the Netherlands. Of course, when you are growing up, you are missing school parties, social activities with friends. But nevertheless, within sports, you make friends as well. So my social circle was in the badminton scene. So quite a lot. My dad was really supportive, sometimes strict, pushing. Sometimes that is also needed. But they were really supportive, driving me to all kinds of trainings and tournaments. Yeah, I guess that is for all sports parents the same. I stopped quite early, around 25, 26. I saw that I was not really improving because I had the goal really to aim high, and yeah, I saw that was not really possible. After my sports career of badminton, I started coaching. Started in my former club, just with some young talented kids, and from there on I took coaching courses, physical training courses, and it started to be really serious, and yeah, it developed really quickly. When I was training and playing full time as an elite, I already was quite interested in coaching, trying to help my teammates here and there. I was really listening to what the coaches were saying on that time, and not only why they were saying it, but also how they were saying it, the way of teaching. So yeah, that was already quite interesting for me back then. I think it was a natural transition, I would say. Yeah, I started coaching in clubs, as I mentioned earlier, with young talented kids. The interaction was really nice. You saw some progress quite quickly, because with youngsters you can see the progress really quickly. And then also a lot more job opportunities came up. I was asked to be a coach in several clubs or an academy, working with national juniors, which are training in the academies. So then it went really quick, and I was full-time coaching in 1 year after I stopped being an elite. I think a coach is quite important. For me, there's a difference between a coach and a trainer. A trainer is just someone who works on court or on the pitch, and I think a coach is guiding the whole project a bit more, dealing with several other things, not only what is happening on court, but also the management around it. I think you never stop learning, that's for sure. I think a coach is learning a lot from the players as well, because you have to work with so many variety of characters. Of course, in our sports we have a kind of technique what we use to train and teach, but that doesn't suit for every individual. So you have to adapt. But yeah, for my own development, over the last few years. I did a few courses. I'm still interested to learn and to keep developing myself in all kinds of aspects of the game. So yeah, it's a never-ending story. I think for me it's quite important if there's a good work ethic from both sides. It also depends in with which group you're working with. I mean, if you're a club coach and you're not really working with professional players, the work ethic or the goal is a bit different than when you work with elite players. If you're an elite player, I assume that you less have to emphasize on pushing the athlete, talking about commitment and those kind of things, because they made already those steps when they were young. So they made that transition. I think I'm quite organized. So communication, I think one is important. Technical. I think it's a combination. Like before, I worked in Cyprus. I was a head coach over there, so I could decide a lot on myself. So I was leading the project, which was really interesting, and I learned a lot over there. Now here in Switzerland, I have the role as an assistant coach. So my role is less to lead and more to follow, and of course give feedback here and there where it could be useful. So there I see that I have to improve. Yeah, because it's a totally different role when I used to. So I used to be in the front lead, and now that's totally different. So yeah. I think now quite calm, because the athletes where we work with are really mature. They are quite responsible, and I think they also know when they don't do things well, or when they do well. So I think it's just discussing it in a normal mutual way. Yeah. So if I was teaching a junior, then it would be more an autocratic way of discussing things, telling the junior what to do, and maybe opening up the discussion that the junior can give some feedback. But with an elite player, it's more of a 50-50 communication. Well, I don't think I have to motivate players, especially in the group where we're working with. Of course, they need support, but just showing commitment from my side, being there always, trying to be on time, trying to be organized, being there in good and bad times, letting them feel that they can rely on you as a coach, and that there's mutual trust. And the athletes, they have their own performance goals, development goals, and trying to make them aware of these points now and then. I don't see them that often in the with the Swiss juniors. I see them in the camps. During our camps, we have sometimes educational parts, where we have for 1 hour theory lessons, where we talk about 24/7 athlete. How is it to be an athlete? What should you do daily? It could be something for mental training, what we're trying to implement on court, but just giving them tools to make them become a better, well-developed athlete, not only on the court, but also out of court. Commitment is so important. Commitment and consistency. Not focusing on what others are doing, but just focusing on your own self-development. Of course, not closing your eyes for what the competition is doing, but striving to be better day by day. Yeah, I think if that's your main focus, if you have the goal of becoming better yourself, you will be a tougher opponent to beat, instead of focusing on your opponent. combination of social studies. We have elite players which are managing university studies, so their schedules daily are quite busy. As in Switzerland, education is really important, and we as coaches also acknowledge that. We're trying to fit in the schedule so that they combine university together with elite sports. Um, so they, in Switzerland, somehow they have a disadvantage because in other countries they really focus 100% on sports. They drop their studies. So yeah, we have to see, and we know that the development goes a bit slower, that they have some distractions now and then. But no, I think it can also be an advantage. Yeah, yeah, I think so. Yeah. Um, well, it's not only for Switzerland. It's okay. I cannot really talk about other sports, but in badminton, yeah, if you really go for aiming high for top 20, top 30 position in the world, it's really difficult to combine studies with that. Of course, you can put your studies on hold. You can delay it. Um, but there's so many tournaments back to back, but they have to play, and it's difficult to combine it with studies if you really want to aim for the high places. Mm. I think it's normal to have the mentality because it's also it could be social pressure, it could be family pressure. Nevertheless, I think it's really good for the athletes to have a backup plan, especially in our sports, since it's not a sport where you can earn a lot of money unless we're really talking about top 20 players. You can have decent money coming in, but of course, after your career, it doesn't last long. Um, Switzerland is in their development years of badminton, and so does the players. And yeah, for the moment that they're studying combined with sports is, I think it's good. Yeah, at that. It's funny, sometimes the less talented players are the most committed and the most hardworking, and the opposite, the other way around. Um, but yeah, you're trying to give that particular athlete the right tools to excel, to develop. Yeah, try to communicate, making the structure better for that player, so that they can see that there is a way to go. Most of the time, those athletes they need challenges, and they're more sort of competition players. Um, so yeah, I would say a combination of a lot of things. Yeah, I actually had it recently with one of the Swiss girls, Sabrina Jacquet. She's the number one. We went to the All England, and on court during the match, she was emotionally quite blocked. So to give any tactical feedback, that's useless. So yeah, just trying to calm her down to get back in, sort of say, back in the zone. Trying to make her realize what is happening, um, release the tension, and then focus on what to do. But yeah, sometimes you have those situations as a coach where you don't have influence on the performance, especially during the game. And I think during the game, uh, it's mainly the athlete who has control, and they need to um, perform. And we as coaches can just give a few hints and tips. Yeah, could be. I mean, if the focus is too much on performing in such a young age instead of development, then I think a young athlete could be burned out by that, or just looking only at the performance goals. Where as a coach, I think you need to guide your athlete to to focus on the development rather than the performance, um, and especially in a young age. Um, And if the athletes accepts the path of development, I think the way is it's much more enjoyable if they see small improvements step by step. Yeah, very important. Um, I used to say to some parents, just give your kid some food, some drink, make sure it studies, and then the coach or the sports coach will do the rest, uh, just to make fun. But no, parents are a really important part of uh, of the athlete's development and the support what they get at home. Uh, of course, when they get older, the athlete needs to be more self-independent. That the parents step aside a little bit more, organizational wise, those kind of things. I think the role of not becoming a coach, so they have to know their role as a parent and stay in their role as a parent. Um, yeah, because they can also mix up the mind of their kid. If you go a little bit against the coach or the other way around. Um, yeah, I would say just supporting your kid as a parent and not as a coach. Um, Also enjoying the ride and focus on development rather than performance. I mean, knowing as a parent that the steps your kid is making through those years will also bring a lot in your daily life. I think sports can bring a lot for kids by being more structured, having goals, yeah, being in a social circle, being able to travel abroad for international events. So, well, I think globally there have been discussing about the shuttle because now it's a goose feather shuttle, so they're trying to go to a synthetic way, so more durable, less expensive. So that could change the game because it has a different flight, maybe a different speed. There has been talks about changing the scoring system. Now we play until 21. I heard recently that they're trying to propose a system until 11. We had that already years ago, which didn't work out, but I think the sports overall is trying to develop. Um, we have new service rules since 1.5 years. We have a Hawkeye system in the big tournaments, which makes it a lot more professional. Um, so yeah, and as for Switzerland, of course, it's a challenge to get better and better. I think Swiss badminton is in their development of badminton. Mm, I think the federation is doing an amazing job. They're really progressing. They're really um, positive of changing things and just to benefit the system. And yeah, we're trying to bring the athletes from junior to elite to a higher level so that the transition from junior to elite is slightly easier. Yeah, that's difficult to say. I mean, Switzerland is small, but if you compare it with Denmark, and Denmark is one of the leading nations in the sport, then I would say it doesn't affect it all. I think the infrastructure is really important. Um, and also the possibilities to train, to have a proper training, to have the right amount of training hours with good quality, and also seeing the sport as professional and not something as just a hobby. I would say first of all, trying to develop Swiss badminton in the juniors, providing them with a better setup so that juniors can excel. Now the juniors get into the elite level with a certain level, which is not good enough. So hopefully we can raise the bar year by year. Personally, I would say just keep developing myself as a coach, and then see where the rides bring me. Yeah, of course, you had examples of badminton players where you were looking up to, I think, which is also quite important. When I was young, trying to see a lot of videos from top players, you're trying to copy them, trying to follow them. I think being an athlete and being a coach is totally different. Maybe 10 years ago, when I would say, how would you describe a coach, would be so different than when I would talk about it now. Because yeah, it's not only just coaching on court, it's the whole management around it. Um, um, I think for young coaches also, like me, it's quite important to have um, people surrounded with you who can guide you into the coaching role. And I was actually lucky to have one and still have one. When I was young in the national team, my former coach, technical director in the Netherlands, Martijn van Dorenmalen, he is still kind of advising me sometimes in a way of what to do, or if I have questions, I can always come back to him and say, how would you approach this situation or that. Um, when I was in Cyprus, he came twice a year to talk about the 4-year plan, about the structure. So I think for young coaches, it's really important to have guidance as well, not only as players. I had a lot of nice moments in the Netherlands, even though it was coaching on club level or with the national juniors in the academies. It could be a moment of training quite long for a period, and then after 6 months, going to a tournament and see a certain player performing what we have been really training on. So you see progression, um, not not even focusing on development. I'm happy I took the step to Cyprus, which is as I said before, it's a development country. I think as a coach, you learn a lot because you have to lead the project, you have to set up things, you have to be proactive. Now that I'm in Switzerland, it's more chilled because the federation is by far more developed. It's more organized. I'm working with colleagues, so we can share ideas. Um, so yeah, if I didn't make the step to Cyprus, I wouldn't have made the step to Switzerland. Um, so yeah, I'm thankful that I made the step there first. Communicate a little bit more, um, because that is something you learn throughout the years. Um, and keep developing yourself, because as an athlete, sometimes you have the feeling, you know it better than the coach or whatever. But yeah, when you start coaching and you see you focus on the progress of development, then yeah, it's a nice ride. You learn a lot. So I would say to a younger self, uh, keep going to courses, keep sparring with other people, talking about coaching whatsoever. I'm not so much into movies lately. I'm more like series, but Vikings is good. Lupin, I really like that one, French series. Marco Polo. Yeah, so sometimes a bit with historical part as well in it. I really don't know. I listen to a lot. Could be jazz, could be Latin, could be R&B, pop, even Swiss German. Dogs. I've lived in Cyprus for 2.5 years, but it's really hot. Now it's in Switzerland, which is a different climate, so you have all the four seasons. Um, I would prefer, yeah, let's say a good mixture. Uh, Let me see. I would say curling. Yeah. And why? Yeah. I find it hilarious when they are sort of cleaning the floor, but I'm not into the sport, so yeah, I also don't have a lot of knowledge about it. So, but when it's on TV, I would not watch it. I think maybe reading people's minds, and I'm not really interested to know what other people think. It doesn't care, but just for my job, it's nice for the athletes. Just what is going through their head. I would like to find out what is going through their head in difficult moments or when it's going well. Yeah. The dog. I hope I grew up already a little bit, but no, just I think it's important that you're happy, healthy, staying active. I like to be active myself, doing sports. So yeah, I want to thank you guys for the interview. I think the questions were interesting. I think we could have talked even more. Um, oh, thanks for approaching me, and we will keep using the Athletes app for sure.